Hello everyone. Just a moment. I'm kind of off screen at the moment, just finishing cutting a cucumber sandwich. So, yeah. I will answer your guys' questions in just a second, but I want to make sure everybody's doing alright. Hello, Tyler. Well, hopefully, this live stream will make you feel better. That's what it's for. It's to help make everybody kind of feel a little bit better and just to hang out and stuff. Oh boy, this sandwich is going to give me some trouble. Come on. Wow, that sandwich was really fighting me on that. Let's see. Put that there. Oops. Come on. Another one there. Nice one there. You know, my presentation skills on sandwiches are usually a lot better, but at the moment I'm kind of rushing some. Of course, as Mark said, you can't rush tea time, which is true. Okay. That water is good. Little paper towel for me. All right. Oh, where's my train? There we go. There should be no derailments. Hello, everybody. Kind of, looks like it's gonna rain today. Alright, well, let's not close those completely. How is everybody? Sorry that took me a while to get situated. Let me go to the comments. Okay, hello, Carl. Okay, Carl has a question for me. Okay, I'll answer as soon as you ask it. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Element. Taylor says, off-screen, are you sure you're not a ghost? Yeah, right? Sometimes I feel like one, always being behind the screen doing the stuff I need to do. And alright, so pour half of this out. There we go. And half of that. That was a bit more than half, but okay. I usually place that there. Alright, so now I'm just preheating the china so it doesn't crack when I pour the fully boiling water in there. Oh, I didn't even put out Scottish shortbread. Oh, geez. Okay, I gotta get that. Hello, Ken. How's it going? Okay, read that. Read that. Tyler says, Alex, you recently said that the cruise liners and Queen Mary 2 have to be ADA compliant. The other best friend I mentioned, Tony, he's confined to a wheelchair. Would he survive Titanic or Lusitania? That's a really loaded question, but I think that due to the mostly wheelchair inaccessibility of Titanic or Lusitania, anybody who has difficulty escaping small spaces in a timely manner would find it difficult to survive those situations. Of course, that depends on where you are on the ship and how close you are to a nearest like exit or something. You know, and of course, what kind of assistance you may need, if any, on your own. So let me get the Scottish shortbread real quick. So last night I made a new batch of Scottish shortbread, and I was like, this didn't turn out like it usually does. Why does it look so different? And I realized it was because I actually had 2 different recipes for it. And I thought that's weird because I only remember downloading 1 recipe. So I don't know where the other recipe came from, but the other recipe is missing key ingredients. It's really weird. Like, it's missing, like, salt. Like, every pastry needs salt. So I thought that was, like, really strange. So I had to delete that recipe to make sure I don't mistaken it again. And I'll have to remake the batch of shortbread. I normally give my sister some of the shortbread. But I didn't like the way it turned out. So I didn't want to give her something that even I wouldn't have. Well, I am having it, though. My tea biscuits are completely destroyed. That's how they arrived in the package. So that's why if you see me eating these completely destroyed tea biscuits, that's why. Jeez. What a mess. Alright, I'll leave that there. Okay, so let me continue reading the comments. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Taylor. Hello, Maritime Review. Oh, wow. Maritime Review, you're in the Navy? Wow. Well, thank you for serving. I have family who was in the Navy as well. In the past. I don't think I currently have any family that was in the Navy. Hello, Ozzy. Hello, Crittenden. Yes, I did, actually. I responded to everybody who gave me pictures, so maybe I thought yeah. Yeah, no, I got the pictures. Hello, KSG. Or I should say, Nick. Hello, Nick. And thank you so much for the donation. Hello, Aaron. Yeah, Aaron, I'm never show ready anymore because, I don't know, I'm so busy. I'm always, like, just trying to catch up and do everything. And then before I know it, it's almost 4 o'clock, and I realize I have to make the sandwiches, I have to make the stuff, and I get so kerbobbled. Hello, Mike. How's it going? Oh, nice. My Maritime Review is wearing the 1940s Victory suit. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? All right. So this should be hot enough. Let me bring that back up to a boil. Alright. So as you can see, we got little train I nicknamed Mr. Squeaky running. It's the stronger of the 2 locomotives, so I use it the most. Okay. Let's fill this up. Come on, come on. The inside of the teapot is white, so it's hard for me to see, like, where the water is when I pour it. Okay. 412, so 417. Today is English breakfast tea. Again. Some more noise happening outside. I'm going to close that door, because sometimes I can't hear anything. Okay, so I have something new today. So I did make cucumber sandwiches, like I usually show here. But I also made something earlier today, which I'm finishing off. It's a little on the stale side now, but it's basically fig jam and white cheddar. That's all it is, a fig jam spread and white cheddar. And I thought it would go really well with the tea. And it's already getting kind of stale, so I'm like, well, might as well finish it off before it gets completely stale. Alright. Why do I feel like I don't have everything ready? I do. I have the sugar, the cream, the tea. Alright, so everything's good. I think my live chat stopped working. Let me see. Aha, it did. Alright, here we go. Whoa. Mr. Misty, what's up? Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Ozzy. Rayanne's here. Hello, Rayanne. I'm doing good, Rayanne. How about you? Hello, Ivan. Jedi Mar, how's it going? Oh, thanks. I'm glad you liked the video yesterday. Ivan says, when are you planning to visit the Spruce Goose again? Actually, it's funny. My friends and I were talking about that. One of my friends is traveling up here to Oregon with his family, so he might stop by the Portland area and come visit me. And when that happens, my other friend might drive down as well, and we might all go back to that same museum. So we might see the Spruce Goose briefly, because we already saw it like last time. We filmed a whole bunch of stuff all over like the Spruce Goose last time, so we've seen it like thoroughly. But we didn't see the other part of the museum, which was the space part of the museum. So we might go see that, but we haven't made official plans yet. Speed Racer says, preheating the china. I was wondering why the water changes in your last tea time. I watched this. I was wondering why the water changes in your last tea time. I watched this. Is such a nice virtual tea time. Oh, thank you. Yeah, since this is all old china, this particular china, for those that don't know, is all of it is from the Cunard ships from before the time of QE2. So this is Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, Sylvania, and probably Mauretania too, and a few others. So this is all Cunard stuff. Some of the things I bought, I didn't buy it all at once. I bought it piece by piece and collected it over time. But some of the pieces I bought, such as this teapot, is, you know, it came with a note, and it said this is from Queen Elizabeth, and stuff like that. So I think the oldest piece I have is from 1952, and the newest piece I have is from 1967. Yeah. So, but yes, china needs to be preheated. It's not like today's modern, what's the word? I guess crockery or whatever you call it. Stuff like you might have a coffee mug you bought at Starbucks or something. Today, that ceramic has new formulas that allow it so you can pour boiling water into a cold coffee mug and it'll be perfectly fine. But china isn't like that. China is delicate. It's expensive stuff. You know, you don't want to mistreat it. And so anyway, but china doesn't have that thermal shock protection. So it will suffer from thermal shock. So if you pour boiling water into a cold teacup or something, like actual china teacup, it will crack. So you have to preheat it. Now, some people are lucky. Some of their stuff doesn't crack, maybe because they live in a warmer climate. So already to start off with, the teacup is a little bit warmer. I live in a cold climate, so it's always cold in my apartment. I don't like paying for heat if I can avoid it, so it's cold in my apartment quite often. So yeah, but you do have to preheat it. I go a little bit overboard just because I am so protective of this tea set. What was it for? So 412, 417. Okay, so it's time for the tea. I'm really protective of this tea set because it is vintage, you know, from the ships, and all the stuff I'm using, the stuff that I'm using right now doesn't have cracks in it, so I don't want to be the one to put a crack in it. And so I go a little bit overboard, but what I do is I first start off with hot tap water in both the teapot and the teacup. Then I start boiling water in the kettle. I dump out half of the tap water and then top off with the boiling water to bring an intermediate heat. Let that sit and equalize. I will then reboil the water to make sure it's perfectly boiling. I will empty out the teapot completely, pour the full boiling water in there, and then I will place the tea in there. And so I just like to go, I'd like to do like basically like a two-step process, you know, tap water, you know, a mix of tap and boiling, and then finally the full boiling for the tea itself. So that's, I guess it's technically 3 steps. But yeah, I go a little bit overboard with that. Some people, they pour nearly boiling water into their teapot and teacup and then swish it around. You can do that as well, but with this, I'm just being extra cautious. I don't want to be the one guy who owned this stuff that put a crack in all of it. So I have a few items here that I can't really use because they're cracked. This teapot from Queen Elizabeth, it has hairline cracks all around the bottom and the sides. You can even see where someone put loose leaf tea in the teapot, and you can see the tea soaked through it. I don't think you'd be able to see it too well on the camera. Towards the bottom. So, yeah, so... yeah, and so some of the people I purchased these things from were like, wow, this stuff cracks so easily. I'm like, it's because it's China. Like, you know. Hey, Brian, how's it going? First time catching you from the beginning. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, the beginning is not that interesting because it's just me preparing everything usually, and I'm always running late, so... okay. I always keep an extra, like, big plastic cup here to pour out the water. Alright, time to pour the tea. Now, technically, you're really only supposed to pour halfway in a teacup, but like I've been saying to some people, these teacups are smaller than the normal teacups you would find. I don't know why they're smaller. They're not demi-tasse cups. Demi-tasse cups, usually you use them for coffee, but these are a little bit larger than demi-tasse cups, but definitely smaller than your average teacup. So if I were to only pour it halfway, it would get cold very quickly. So I try to meet it partially by going 3/4 full. And then the rest I put the cream. I try to follow tea etiquette. You know, etiquette is really just etiquette. It's not going to kill you if you don't follow etiquette. But I try, you know, if you're gonna go out, you know, like all out, you might as well go all out, you know. So, a little bit of cream. And like I say, today is English breakfast tea. Alright. Bill Flett says, wow, waits for, ow, that's hot. Yeah, I know. Every time. Except for this time, I managed to lift the lid without burning myself. That's interesting. Hey Sarah, how's it going? Good to see you too. Hello Adam. In regards to an earlier question, what forces today's cruise lines to be ADA compliant if they register under foreign flags, market pressure? I think there is some kind of... This is where it gets really fuzzy for me because I don't know everything about, like, everything. But you will find that all cruise ships have alternate areas for places that have stairs. So everywhere you see that there's stairs, there's usually somewhere nearby that has a ramp to accommodate people who are in wheelchairs. Now, some people have said, oh, that's just a courtesy. But I don't think so. Not with cruise lines. Because I almost feel like there probably is a code somewhere. Maybe it's managed by every country of their own. Maybe they have all their own codes. But I'm sure that there is a code that they all try to follow when it comes to adding wheelchair accessible ramps near stairwells and things. And making sure that every deck that is normally accessible by guests is always accessible by every guest. So I think the only exception I've seen to that are river cruise ships. Because river cruise ships or boats have to be able to squeeze underneath really low bridges. So usually the top deck doesn't have elevator access or even wheelchair ramp access. In fact, I think for the most part, most riverboat cruise boats don't even have elevators or ramps. And they tell everybody prior to when they book that we're not wheelchair accessible and that kind of thing. But cruise ships that go out in the open sea, I don't think so far I've heard of one that's modern built that isn't. So it would be really weird, but I don't know. That's kind of where it's fuzzy for me. I know about ocean liners. Cruise ships, not so much. Yeah, sweetbreads are not my thing. I don't like sweetbreads. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Mike Marin, that is. Oh, Stephanie, happy 22nd. I don't know why I was going to say second 22nd birthday. I am not fully awake, you guys. Oh my gosh. And you can see I have the worst bedhead in the world. I woke up this way. I've been trying to comb my hair. I even washed my hair to see if I could get it to flatten out. It just isn't doing that today. So crazy hair day, you guys. Let's see. Stefan says, hey Alex, have a nice tea party. You have a great channel, and thank you for your videos and comments. It's nice if you can get responses, and it shows you have interest in your viewers and the topic. Greetings from Vienna, Austria. Oh wow, Austria. I get viewers from all over the world. This is crazy. Yeah, well, you know, the thing is when I started my channel, I wanted to be a person who shows that, you know, I do care about my viewers. I do care who watches and, you know, and stuff like that. Because, you know, I started off not even as a YouTuber. I was just someone who used to watch YouTube all the time years ago. And one of the things that always bothered me was, I would admire all these YouTubers, but none of them ever answered comments or questions or even talked to people on their live streams. Now, I told myself, I don't want to be that kind of YouTuber, you know. I want to show people that I do interact with them. So sometimes the interaction gets me in trouble, though, because sometimes someone makes a snarky comment, and I think they're joking, you know. I'm like, oh, so I joke along with them. But then after, another comment or two, I realized that snarky comment was meant because they were angry. And I only made them angrier by joking around with them. So, but, you know, aside from those people, it's always fun to talk to everybody on the channel. Especially since my friends who are into the things I'm into, like trains, ocean liners, that kind of thing, they live far away. So I can really only talk to them by phone unless they come and visit or something. So I get kind of stir crazy wanting to talk about, you know, trains and ocean liners and boats and stuff. So it's always nice to have people on the live streams where I can talk talk to you guys about that stuff. Ken says, have you ever seen the SS Pasteur built in 1938? It had a ginormous funnel and looked really weird, but it was replaced later in life when it became TS Bremen. Fascinating ship. I'd never heard of that before. Was it German? Or was it... Yeah, I'm curious. C Quad says, my favorite steamship is the RMS Queen Mary. My second favorite ship is the SS United States. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people had seen my my video about the top 10 list, and I was glad to surprise people with the list because I knew my list was going to be different. You know, on my list there wasn't Titanic, there wasn't Normandy, there wasn't SS United States, or even Olympic. So I knew immediately my list was going to be interesting to see how people reacted. Thankfully, most people were pleasantly surprised and not angrily surprised. But yeah, so it was nice to see some comments from people who were like, hey, this is a completely different list than I've ever seen a YouTuber do. Subscribed. You know, so that was good. Keith says, hey Alex, don't mean to sound rude or change the subject, but will you guys be doing live streams on the Railroads Online game? I love your lives on there. We will. It's just that, so we haven't gone live for a while because Railroads Online says that they were going to put out a update to the demo. It was supposed to be today. So today was supposed to be the original date for updating their demo. And I was going to actually wait till tonight to live stream it. But then a couple days ago, my friend was like, oh, they pushed it back to, I think the 20th, I think they said. And so I thought, well, I made everybody wait so long for me to do a live stream on that, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll still do a live stream or something. I'll see if my friends are available tonight. Oh, wait, but my friend Shiloh, I told him that I would try to get my friends to do Enlisted tonight. Okay, well, tonight we actually might do a live stream of Enlisted on the other channel. I would do it on this channel, but Enlisted is kind of a bloody game, so maybe I'll just save it for the other channel. But the Railroads Online one, I will do that sometime soon. I'll see when my friends want to do a live stream of that, and then we'll do it. I want to do it less often because I was like doing live streams of games every other night on my other channel, and I think it just kind of everybody got tired of it real fast. So I think if I do it less often and I do it on this channel, more people will watch it. Grid says, hello, we randomly got suggested one of your live streams, but enjoy the live streams. We have 2 from our group based in England. Oh, wow. That's funny. Some people get randomly suggested these live streams, like the tea time. That's pretty cool. Aaron says, fig jam and white cheddar, magnifique. Yes, it is. Actually, this is really good. I have it on multigrain bread. I can eat white sandwich bread, but I prefer multigrain. I don't know what it is. I grew up all my life on multigrain bread, or wheat bread, so I'm so used to it. Oh, this is good. I can see myself going back and forth between the cucumber sandwiches and this. This was faster to put together than the cucumber sandwiches. Thank you, Ozzy. Joe says, oh, cool. I'm from Salem, and I've never seen the Spruce Goose yet. Oh, Joe, you gotta see it. It's so cool. It is the biggest plane I've ever seen in my life. with my own eyes for sure. It is absolutely ginormous. And the building it's housed in is huge. I don't think I've ever seen an open space that big before. It was awesome. And you got to walk inside the airplane and learn about it. They have volunteer docents that kind of teach you about it. And then we paid an extra, I think, $10 per person to be able to go up into the cockpit. So that was really cool. So that was definitely worth it. That whole museum, you get not just the airplanes and the, the aeronautics, but the other building too, which houses the Space Museum. We spent like hours in the airplane side of the museum. And we actually like stayed there until like basically the museum closed. So we didn't even have time for the space thing. So that was a good deal for $20, $20 admission to see the entire museum. That was a good deal. And then the extra $10 to go up into the cockpit of the Spruce Goose, that was really well worth it. And they have models and things showing the construction of the Spruce Goose and all that. It was amazing. It was really amazing. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to see it. And I'm going to have a video about the Spruce Goose eventually. I took so much footage of that airplane. When I say ship, I took so much footage of that airplane when we were there because I knew I was going to make a history video about it. I took so much footage. So there will be a video coming out. I want to get that video done after I finish my oceanic video. Maritime Review says, what if the captain of Queen Mary from 1936 somehow time traveled to 2022 and found out Queen Mary was still around? I wonder how he would react. He'd probably see the state in which the Queen Mary sits right now and just say, wow, what happened, old girl? I dropped cheese on my shirt. Wonderful. Put that there. Oh, Crittenden, I'm so sorry. I hope your sinuses clear up. Stefan says, how old is your train? Do you build a train there and add grass and trees and houses later? Yes. So everything on here is different ages. So the locomotive that is pulling this train here, that locomotive was probably built, or manufactured, I should say, 10 years ago or so. Yeah, just about 10 years ago. A little bit, maybe a little bit more. The train it's pulling is from almost 30 years ago. The freight cars on the other side of the tracks that are up against the wall, each of those I would probably confidently say is from the early 2000s, so 20 years ago. The caboose that is back there is very brand new. I wouldn't be surprised if it was manufactured merely 5 years ago. Yeah, so it's all cool. And what I do, this is my third layout that I've ever had. So what I usually do is I start off with a foam base. This table was built by my friend. It's a special table built just for this. It's designed to fold up and everything, so that way if I need to move the train layout, we can separate the top of the table away from the legs, and the legs fold up accordion-like, really small, so it can be carried. That was really useful for both moving up here to Portland and moving into my new studio. So that was really useful. And then what I do, so I start off with a foam base. I will plan everything out. You probably can't see, but the foam base is there's a grid drawn on it. So I usually design the layout on my computer. I draw the grid on the foam, so that way I know where to coordinate everything, kind of put everything and place it. And then I start shaping and laying down the track, and I solder all the track together for a good electrical connection. I will drill holes all the way through the whole thing in order to connect all the track with electrical wires. Really carefully coordinated, electrical wires. And then I'll electrify the whole thing. One thing you can't see is that there are 3 bridges on this layout. There's one right there in the corner that the train's about to go over. One in the opposite corner. And then off camera is the larger bridge. It is a trestle bridge. Quite huge. I suppose I could show you guys real quick. Turn the microphone so you guys can hear me. Oh, this light thing is gonna... The light rig is... Hold on. So you can see I do set up lights and things, so everything's lit up properly. So this is the train passing over the trestle. Alright. Yeah, so that's the train layout. Just a second. Gotta get everything back in order. Why does it feel like this camera's tilted? Oh, because it is. There we go. Alright, now let me get back into my chair. So yeah, that's the train layout. And so it takes a long time to build these things, especially since I don't have much time on my hands to do it. Okay. Cole says, have you ever been on the Queen Mary? Oh, of course, yeah. I've been on it several times in my life. In fact, that's how, whenever you see my videos and you see footage on board the ship, all that was taken by me. So I took all that footage on the ship. I did the whole virtual narrated tour of the Queen Mary. So yeah, a lot of people have asked if I've been on it, but yeah, I have. Speed Racer says, fascinating. How did they preheat China on a big scale when they were at sea? Basically, most likely what they did was they first of all the tea was prepared in the kitchen before they brought it out. So they had pretty much everything ready. But what they did was they would run the teapot under some really hot tap water, or possibly even boiling water. They would just swish it around, heat it up, and then they'd fill it with the boiling water, add the tea to it. And then they would preheat the tea cup the same way. They'd swish it around in boiling water, place it on the thing, carry it out. It was really fast. It was really, really fast. Of course, that probably, on occasion, led to thermal shock breakages. That probably did happen. But that's what an ocean liner is. They go through china and silverware a lot in ocean liners because it's like a hotel, like you can have fine china at a hotel and stuff, but because it's a hotel and you're serving hundreds and hundreds of people, you're just always prepared for breakages. So it just happened, if the ship rolled violently, all of a sudden, all the china would smash and break. So it was normal for china to break. They ordered so much, like even though this is fine china, they ordered so much of it all the time. I think every time the ship came back to Southampton, or even more often than that, they would just load up more china on there. Not that they always broke stuff like at that scale. It's just that you had to be prepared, you know. KSG Gamed, thank you so much for another donation. One more because I'm feeling generous. It's 1 a.m. Oh my gosh, that is late. Ivan says, so are you releasing a video about the Spruce Goose after your second visit? I hope it won't take that long. I'd like to release my Spruce Goose video before then, but I haven't even gotten to work on the Spruce Goose video. I'm still trying to finish the Oceanic video, so I can't work on the Spruce Goose video till I finish that. So until then, you know, we'll see. Imin Videos says, what flavor of tea are you drinking? I am drinking English breakfast tea. Twinings English breakfast tea. Looks like I'm really behind on this chat, so I'm gonna have to hurry up. Jacob of the Day says, I went from knowing nothing, and now I know so much. Now you are one of the YouTubers that actually teach people. Thank you. You know, I try to bring up topics and fun facts that not many people actually talk about. Let's see. Scott says, you're almost at 25,000 subscribers. Yes, I am. I'm really excited about that. Ryan says the ship is German. Yes, okay. John says, hi Alex, on the lost places below the stern stream, Steve said the Queen Mary was bending up in the middle. New to me, you seemed surprised too. Should this be a concern? Hopefully not fatal to the Queen Mary. Yeah, that was surprising to learn, because you see, I assumed that because the ship had shear, where she was bowing down in the center on the decks, that she was perfectly fine. But as Steve mentioned to me, and it made sense after he said it, the ship itself is flat. If you look at the keel, it's completely flat. That's how it's designed. The decks are the parts that are that have shear to them. But what he's saying is that because there's so much weight on the stern, because they took out all the machinery and stuff towards the front of the ship, since a lot of the front of the ship has been lightened, the ship is kind of bending back this way, and that's also putting stress on the front of the ship. The front of the ship, gravity's pulling it down. So it is kind of bending up towards the center, is how he's describing it. Now, I haven't seen any information that tells me that myself, but Steve is usually very, very accurate with his information. Steve is no joke. He is seriously like an accurate researcher into this stuff, and he's spent years aboard the ship. He started off as an employee on the Queen Mary in the 1990s, being an employee for all the way, you know, through to 2009, I want to say, and in that time, also since he was a kid, he's been visiting the ship. Since he was a little boy, he's been visiting the ship. So Steve is very, very, very knowledgeable about the Queen Mary. I showed him a picture last night, right? I said, there's this area of the ship. I have a picture of it. It's almost, the image is hard to tell where it's from, right? Because I was looking at the picture. All you see is a staircase. Not much. All you see is the stairs of the staircase. And all the walls are cut out, and everything is just like cream white. So there's no features of this room at all. I said, can you tell me where this room is? And he knew. He knew immediately. He goes, oh yeah, that's the bottom of the third class staircase. I said, that's not possible. The bottom of the third class staircase is on our deck. And I said, that has a little lobby. And he goes, no, it goes down further than that. And I said, what? And he showed me on the deck plans that indeed the staircase, they blocked it off after it came to Long Beach, but the staircase did go down another deck to C deck. And that's where the picture was taken. It was taken on C deck, which is a crew-only area currently. But it was a third-class area back then. So he knows his stuff. So if he says the ship is bending in the center upwards because of the weight of the front and the back kind of pushing up on the ship, you know, or yeah, pushing up on the ship because of the fact that the weight in the middle has been removed, I believe it. Now, that's not to say the ship is unstable. I don't want people to think that the ship is going to capsize because she's top heavy. I did make a video about that. That video is still true. They did weigh down the ship with 3 different kinds of ballast. They used sand, they used metal pellets, and they currently use fresh water in the ballast tanks. So the ship is ballasted to keep her in the water at a proper depth. But she is still missing some of that weight, and that puts more buoyancy on the center of the ship, because there's weight on both sides. So both the front and the back, I mean. So yeah, that was pretty surprising for me to learn, and I don't think it's dangerous for the ship. The reason why is because I do have proof that the city did hire people to do an ultrasound of not just the ship's outer hull, but also the framework of the ship. With the frames, the beams, everything. They did ultrasounds of all that. And they deemed that the ship's hull is within normal stress ranges. So if it was within like abnormal ranges, they would have said that in the report, but it was within normal stress ranges. So while it is pushing up on the ship, it's not dangerously breaking the ship apart. It is putting stress on the ship, though. I think that's part of the reason why the expansion joints on the top of the ship were kind of pulling apart a little bit. They rotted away from rainwater, but they were recently repaired and replaced. So I don't think the ship is in any danger from it. It's just that it is stress that is being put on the ship that probably should be dealt with, you know. Yes, Evan, I'm sorry to see the lifeboat's gone too. I will make a update video soon. I have enough information to make an update video. So you'll have to wait for that. Jacob of the Day, yes, I hope I can go on the Queen Mary 2 as well. I'm really excited for that. I've been putting some money aside for that as well, and I've had people donating to my GoFundMe page so that way I can do that trip. That would be really nice. If you guys would like to know more, in the description of this video, I have a video all about my trip to the UK and my GoFundMe link as well. So if you guys want to support that, I can go to the UK a lot sooner than planned, and then try to take footage of all this historic places and stuff in the UK so I can make more videos for you guys. Scott says, hey, did you get the Crown Prince Wilhelm idea from me? No, I've always liked the Crown Prince Wilhelm ever since I discovered it. Adam says, on your list, why was Titanic ranked below Olympic? Because Olympic, I had more respect for the ship because it was involved in World War I, and there's a lot more history to Olympic. The Olympic had been through a lot more. So historically speaking, to me, it was more significant than Titanic. Titanic never made it past her maiden voyage. So I don't think that, yeah, I just felt that Olympic was higher rated than Titanic, actually. That's just how I felt, but, I lost my place on the comments. Okay, so here we are. Jedi says, I didn't expect to see Aquatania on your top 10. That was a surprise to me. Yeah, I honestly thought Aquatania would be more like number 10. I didn't realize that after I lined up all the ships that I thought Aquatania was number 5. So, Aquatania made it to number 5 because Aquatania was in both World Wars. That is a huge deal to me. So that's what bumped Aquatania up from number 10 to number 5 when I was putting together the video. So, Scott, I don't know what Stormworks is. No problem, Tyler. C-Quad says, since I know about the repairs for the Queen Mary, I believe they're almost done with the lifeboats. Next, I believe, is the water intrusion systems. I know after that, they are going to open Dark Harbor. Yes. Well, they're not doing things one by one. They're doing it all together at the same time, but it is being completed one by one, that's for sure. When, on March 11th, they made an announcement as to how long these projects will take. The longest project was the inclusion of the water intrusion alarms, the bilge pumps, and the repair of 2 watertight bulkheads. That project was estimated to take 187 to 210 days, I think it was. That's an estimate. So I kind of, did the math, and I was like, okay, that means closer to Halloween, which made sense because the city said that they were interested in reopening the ship around Halloween time so they can do their famous, Halloween event. Excuse me, hiccup. I hiccuped randomly. I'm so lucky that hiccup didn't make me inhale my sandwich and choke on screen. Yeah, Mr. Misty is right. Spruce Goose was a name that was given by the press to mock the H-4 Hercules because the airplane is made out of birch, not spruce. Let's see. See you later, Scott Hetland. What? The chat, well, it keeps moving up whenever I scroll back up to get to where I was. Alright. I see. Ken says SS Pasteur started as a French liner, then sold to German line. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Jacob of the Day, about the lifeboats. Dom says, I found you through your Disney Ghost Story videos. Ever been to Virginia City, Nevada? I lived there for a year. It was crazy haunted. No, I've never been there. Mr. Zantastico says, hey Alex, I love your videos, especially the Queen Mary videos about World War II, and I actually found this channel when I was, I think, searching about the Queen Mary. Oh, nice. I'm glad you like those videos. Yeah, there's more history videos about the Queen Mary coming out soon. There's stuff about the final voyages, the last great cruise. And then I'll be working on videos about her years in Long Beach. Because believe it or not, there is so much history to the ship since she arrived in Long Beach. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a multi-part video as well. Mr. Misty says, I've always wondered if the Spruce Goose was built of aluminum and with regular aircraft construction techniques, would the design have been viable? I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it would have. Nick Orlando says, love the Spruce Goose. Just went down a rabbit hole the other day. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm a mechanical aerospace engineering student. I love anything with a motor. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Spruce Goose, I'm not even into airplanes. That's the funny thing. I'm not at all into airplanes. But when I learned about the Spruce Goose when I was a kid, I should say H-4 Hercules. When I learned about the H-4 Hercules when I was a kid, that was a big deal to me. I thought it was so cool, and being able to finally see it myself a couple months ago was like magic. It was amazing. So I am excited to make my video about this, about the H-4 Hercules. RMS Olympic says, hello Alex, what is your opinion on the Big Four from White Star Line? I don't know much about them yet, so I can't say anything. Ken says, Olympic WS did an awesome video on Pasteur, worth checking out. I know there is usually no correlation, but I think it's interesting. It had one funnel with 4 screws. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. Rayanne says, I saw Spruce Goose when it was in Long Beach. I was too young to truly appreciate it. I really want to see it again. Yeah, when I was a kid, my grandma used to tell me, "Oh, that dome has the Spruce Goose in it," and so I was always excited to see it. And then I went with my dad when I was an adult, and I thought, "Oh, we should go see the Spruce Goose in that dome." He goes, "That hasn't been here for years," and I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, they moved it," and so. Yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't know it was in Oregon. Now I live up here in Oregon, which is crazy. So being able to go to the Evergreen Aviation Museum and actually see the H-4 Hercules was amazing. Just amazing. Like, my friend, he walked around the airplane. It took him 5 minutes to walk around the airplane. That's how big it was. 5 minutes to walk around. And he was going at a decent walking speed too, so that was big. It's a big airplane. Fade says, Alex, do you think it's possible to raise the Britannic? It is possibly, actually. It would be hard to restore her though. If she is raised, what do you think they should do with her? I don't know. That's, I think maybe, I mean, I like to say with enough money, anything is possible, but that doesn't necessarily mean I think it is possible. So if that makes any sense, like, if someone was super, super, super rich, like Elon Musk or that lizard guy who owns Facebook, you know, if you're as rich as them, you probably could pay to raise Britannic out of the water, but it's so impractical and so expensive and so not financially feasible that it borders on impossible. So that's what I think. If it was raised, maybe it should be turned into a museum, but I mean, that's really pushing it. Wade says, nice trestle. Was it scratch built? Yes, it is scratch built. It is to scale. So all the wood beams and everything are to scale. And yeah, I scratch built it myself. I wanted to buy one because I thought, oh, well, I'll just buy one. And they come in kits, like wood kits that you can put together. And I saw it and I'm like, that is unbelievably expensive. For a kit with a trestle large enough, it was almost like $200. But even then, even if it was only $50, it's still a lot of money, you know, like, but still, it was like almost $200 for a trestle like that. And I thought, you know, that's really not hard. I can do the same thing, you know. So what I did was I took some graph paper, I drew out all the different parts that go into the trestle bridge. And what I did was I just used that because it was drawn to scale for what I need. And I had the wood necessary to build it, so I had like a little Japanese saw, and I just cut all the wood pieces to the right shapes and sizes, glued everything together. I say it like it's easy. It wasn't easy. I had to create a form, so I took out these huge pieces of paper. I drew where the bents of the trestle bridge would have to go, and I laid them all out on a piece of foam board, extra foam like this. And then I started gluing everything together upside down. So the whole bridge was upside down. The reason why I did it upside down is because the top of the bridge is flat. That's where the railroad track is. The bottom of the bridge is not even. That's where the groundwork is. So it's not even. So I built the bridge upside down. And then when it was done, I turned it right side up. And then I started gluing it into place. The bridge... It's funny, what I love about the bridge is when I look at it, it looks fragile, but when I see it with a heavy train rolling over it, it's so cool because it's together. All those weak pieces of wood make it strong, and that's what a trestle bridge is. That's what's so fun about a trestle bridge is individually those pieces of wood are so weak, you know, compared to the weight of a locomotive and a train. But when you put them all together like that, and all the pieces work together to hold the bridge up, it becomes really strong. I could actually probably like put a lot of my weight on that bridge and it'll stay standing. I'm not even kidding. I've done it before. I wanted to see just how strong it was. So I was like kind of like, you know, putting my weight on it. It's a strong bridge. So yeah, I love that thing. But the funny thing was when we moved it from my sister's garage to my new apartment, we had to roll it. So the whole table, like I said, it's designed to, you know, accordion up when you need to put it into a vehicle. But we were rolling it from the garage to here, and the asphalt of the driveway was so shaky that it shook the whole like layout to pieces. So the bridge actually got heavily damaged. A lot of the parts were falling off of it because of the shaking, and so, you know, thanks to some people who donated to my channel, I was able to buy the glues that I needed to put the whole thing back together. And so, yeah, now it's running perfectly fine. And from here, I'll have to start working on the landscape. I need to buy more supplies to make the landscape and stuff. So I have most of the landscape stuff here. Like, I have all the stuff for making bushes and trees and grass and stuff. I need the paints. So I need paint to paint the landscape. I need I need plaster because some of the riverbed and the canyon needs to be plastered over. So I need to buy plaster. I have plaster cloth for making mountains and things. So I'll be making mountains and stuff. But I don't think I have enough plaster cloth to line the bed of the river and all that stuff. But I would need plaster for that anyway to make it smooth. But yeah, so lots of stuff. Tom says, "Hi, Alex. Would you visit the final resting place of Captain John Treasure Jones near Southampton? Or would that be considered too morbid?" It's not that it'd be considered too morbid. Sorry, this sandwich is really sticky. It's that my friend and I have a really busy itinerary. Like, I'm not even kidding. This just might be my only chance to see the UK. So we're jamming a lot of stuff into the itinerary, and I don't think we'll even have time to do stuff like that. Most of the itinerary is for me to film stuff, so it's filming locations. I think the only part of the itinerary that is just for fun, mostly, even though I'm going to be filming there, is Disneyland Paris. But that's because my friend, for his channel, he films Disney parks and theme parks and stuff. So he'll be working when he gets to Disneyland Paris and filming for his channel. I'll be doing some light filming for my channel, just some special things at Disneyland Paris I want to highlight and tell the history of. But mostly I'll be there for fun while he's working. But the rest of the trip is entirely about history. So so our itinerary is really big. A lot of people have said, "Oh, you should go to Edinburgh," and I'm like, I would love to go to Edinburgh, but I don't think we can. Like, we don't have the time, you know. And Liverpool, I really want to go to Liverpool, but I'm worried that we don't have the time based off of all the stuff we have to do in London. And the other thing, too, is we'd have to take trains everywhere. So, you know, we're worried that we'll be spending half a day on a train. Like, the problem with going to these different locations is the train rides. The train rides can take hours. Anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours to... I think one trip is even 5 hours to get to Edinburgh or something like that. And so you have to think about it. Like, we would be on the train most of the day. You know, we'd be on the train early in the morning and then come back like late at night. And so we don't want to spend so much time traveling. We want to spend more time filming and going to these historic places that we can, so that way we're using our time efficiently. So right now, as it stands, when we get to the UK, the plan is to go straight from Southampton to London, stay a few nights in London, then go to Bristol. Bristol is like a day trip, so where we would be returning to London. So I think Bristol is a trip that we'll be saving for the last day of London. Then we'll be going to France to spend time at Disneyland Paris and the city of Paris as well for the filming. And then we would be going to Belfast. So we would take the train back to London, then take a plane from London to Belfast to do filming at the Titanic Museum and all the Titanic stuff in Belfast. We might even stay at the Belfast Titanic Hotel, maybe, if it's cheap enough or it's within our affordable range. Because we can't take a plane back the same day. It wouldn't be very efficient. So we'd actually be spending a night in Belfast. And then we'd return back to London. And then our last night in the UK, we would actually go down to Southampton and spend our last day in Southampton the day before the ship gets there. So in Southampton, we might see the Maritime Museum and a few other things, but like the HMS Victory and all that. Is it Victory or Victoria? Victory, right? Yeah, so we have like this whole itinerary planned out, and it's getting jam-packed full of stuff. So even though we might not be able to make it to Liverpool or to Edinburgh or to Wallsend on Tyne or something, like or what's that city nearby it? Anyway, we're gonna try to see everything we can within those few cities that we'll be in. Stephanie says, have a mini RC ocean liner layout at your train table size. I don't have the skills to make RC ocean liners. But in any case, this whole thing is going to be decorated with landscaping, so it won't make sense to have the ocean liners on there. So that's why they're not there right now. Evan Scott says, why was the Queen Mary being gutted so much? It started off as a need to... that's worthy of a video of its own. It's such a big answer, but just to put it as simply as possible, they were turning the ship into a museum and a hotel and a convention center. So a lot of changes needed to be made to make that possible. And... at least to the plan that they wanted. Again, it's worthy of a video unto itself. That's how much stuff is in that. So it's not that I don't know. It's not that I'm not answering because I don't know. It's just that there's so much to explain. So there will be a video on that in the future about the reasons why everything was altered and what was altered and stuff like that. So stay tuned for the future. Yes, Carl, they do events right outside of the Queen Mary. I wouldn't say all that money goes towards the ship. Most of it goes into the pockets of the people that put together the special event, and a small amount of that fee goes to the Queen Mary. So it's not enough, but it is a lot. So they do the events outside the ship to do that. Let's see, Nick Orlando. Thank you so much for the donation, Nick. Have a good one. Thank you so much. C Quad says, "Can I ask Steve a question?" Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's not here right now, but you know, normally he's in my chat, but he's actually visiting somebody in another state. So so yeah, he's not on the chat today. But yeah, if you have a question, you know, you can ask him. See you later, RMS Olympic. Conrad says they could have called it the birch turkey or the ash cash cow. Oh, I see. Ken says that there's RC conversion kits, especially for the trumpeter. I've heard of that one. The trumpeter model has a conversion kit for making it RC. Wade says, I learned that you're in Portland today. I thought you were in SoCal. No, I used to live in SoCal, but I've lived in Portland for almost 3 years now. So, or no, just over 2 years. But yeah, I've lived in Portland for just over 2 years. So, I never really liked SoCal. The only thing that kept me there was Disneyland and Queen Mary, you know, and of course I have family there, you know, all my family is in, you know, SoCal and stuff, so I do miss them a lot, but outside of that, I don't really like SoCal very much, so I've always dreamed of living somewhere where there was trees and greenery, like, you know, I do not like concrete landscapes like Southern California is, so, so this is nice. I'm living out a dream being up here, but I don't live in the center of Portland proper. I live way out on the outskirts of Portland where there's actual trees and landscapes and stuff. So, let's see. Oh, everyone's laughing at the lizard guy remark. Maritime Review says, if you had $1 billion in your bank account, what would you do with the money? If I had $1 billion in my bank account, well, first and foremost, I would allocate some of that money to ensure that me and my family were set. You know, we have like a place to live, and it's paid off or something. So that would be the first and foremost thing I would do. But the next thing I would do is I would consider... See, I'm not fully decided yet, but I would consider a way to invest some of that money into a small business. That way I can keep earning more money and build it. But the other thing, too, is I would try to find a way to significantly invest a lot of that money with guarantee that it would be spent on the Queen Mary's restoration. So, I think when all is said and done, I'd only be able to donate $500 million. But $500 million is quite literally the amount that would completely restore the Queen Mary to museum quality. So that includes the construction of a dry dock that the city plans to build. So if I invested $500 million into that, the Queen Mary would be set. And would I do it? Yes, I would. Is that a huge amount of money being spent? Yes, it is. But I would do it with guarantee that it is being spent on the Queen Mary, and I would do it with guarantee that they accept some of my input on what should be done to make the Queen Mary a financial success. I do have a lot of ideas. I have, you know, an education in hotels and tourism. I know how tourist attractions work. I've worked in the hospitality industry for 11 years. I know something about how tourist attractions, hotels, and convention centers operate. So I would hope that if I was donating 500 million towards that, it would, they would accept some of my input. Yeah, so, and then of course money would be allocated to various charities and things for, children and stuff. I believe in giving back when you earn a lot of, significant dough. Mike, I'm not sure. I didn't see a email from you. Someone quoted me saying paints to paint. Yeah. Fade, to answer your question, I think Queen Elizabeth being turned into a floating university was a much better thing to happen to her than to be left to rot the way Queen Mary was, I love that Queen Mary was turned into a hotel museum, but I think if seeing all that stuff happen to the ship, maybe it would have been better to be turned into a floating university, but then again, look at what happened to Queen Elizabeth, so... Thank you, Crittenden. Weird. Okay. Oh yeah, White Swan Hotel I think is a long ways away from where we'll be at, so I don't think we'll be going there. Tom, yeah, it is 30 minutes from London to Edinburgh, but the thing is that that's a lot more money we'd have to spend as well. Airplanes in and out of London are extremely expensive. So that would actually tack on, significantly more dollars to my budget, We're already going there on a really limited budget. I feel like I need to sneeze. So we'll be going there on a really limited budget. Granted, the budget is $8,000, but for what we're doing, that's pretty limited. Like, very, very limited. Let's see. C-Quad says, why do they get rid of the second-class pool in the Queen Mary? Well, it goes back to what, like I was answering for Evan Shipcott, was that the ship was being converted to a hotel, convention center, museum. So they removed a lot of stuff to make space for those things that they had ideas for. And so one of the things was removing the second-class swimming pool to make way for that museum. So I know that a lot of the stuff that they planned was never built, but that's why it was removed. It was removed to make way for the stuff that they planned to build that they never ended up building. Hello, Mike. You didn't miss much. Aaron says, Alex, did you ever work QSR at DCA? Yes, I did. I've actually worked almost every single QSR location in DCA at one point or another. I was part of the opening crew for Cars Land, so when Cars Land first opened, I was the opening crew at the QSR there, which was the Flo's V8 Cafe. So I was a tenured, at the time I was a tenured busboy. So yeah, I was able to teach people how to bus the Disneyland way. The funny thing about California Adventure was they had been, before California Adventure was rededicated in 2012, the cast members there before that year had been so used to a theme park that was just dead empty, because it wasn't a popular theme park before then. So the theme park was very, very dead. There were huge restaurants with massive seating areas that would only see a fraction of that seating area actually used for people. So the bussers there were not used to being busy. They were used to taking everything slow and leisurely, and they were not used to the whole place filling up. And so they brought a bunch of us over from Disneyland because we had experience in a very busy theme park. Day and night, it was busy in Disneyland, and they brought us over to help bring the cast members up to speed on all that. So I remember I was moving around because it was such a chaotic day when they rededicated the park. They had Flo's V8. They had me there. They had me walk back and forth from Flo's V8 to Pacific Wharf, and then to the Fiddler, Pfeiffer, and Practical Cafe on Buena Vista Street. And my whole shift there was to teach people how to bus and do it quickly. So I was moving back and forth throughout the whole park, going to these 3 locations, helping out other people, and boy, it was crazy. Like, I remember this one guy at Pacific Wharf. He looked at me and he goes, "I've never seen it this busy here before." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "This is what it's like at Disneyland every day." And he was like, "How do we do this?" He's like, "We don't even have nobody's ready for that." I'm like, "Well, that's why I'm here." It's like to show you guys how to move quickly in the Disney way. So that was an interesting day. And I walked right past, what's his name? He's the actor that does the deep voice for. He was like in Finding Nemo. He played Brother Bloat, Nemo, newcomer of orange and white, and he also did, he's in like all kinds of movies. He does deep voices for all those kinds of movies. And he was in the show Everybody Loves Raymond. He played Raymond's brother, so famous actor. I walked right in front of him because they had this line for Radiator Springs Racers. It stretched all the way through Paradise Pier, all the way around the pier. And it came through Pacific Wharf, where I was, and they had broken up the line in certain areas to allow traffic through. And I was walking in between the traffic, carrying like a dustpan and a broom, and there's the guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's him, Okay, Mike. Actually, yeah, I did get it now. Maritime Review says, if you could time travel to either 1934 to 1935 on one of Mauretania's last voyages, also you had your phone to document the trip, what would document on the trip? I would film the entire ship from top to bottom. I would hope to have my camera with me, not my phone, because my camera would record a lot better quality than my phone. So if I had my phone or my camera, I'd record the entire ship from top to bottom to have a complete layout of it. I'd film the ship from different angles as it sailed, and passengers enjoying their time, if that was possible. So yeah, that's what I'd do. Marie says, love that Art Deco tea service you have. I couldn't agree more. At least Queen Mary was saved as a hotel museum. Thank you. Yeah. This whole tea service is from the Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth ships. So yes, it's all Art Deco. I forgot to finish putting together this cup of tea here. Wow, we're already an hour and a half into the live stream. It feels like it's only been 30 minutes, honestly. To me, it feels like it's only been 30 minutes. I have so much fun on these live streams that I just can't. Yes, Fate, I've seen the movie Raise the Titanic. I saw it when I was a kid with my grandmother. Let's see. Conrad says, what is the big difference in bussing the Disney way? Boy, that's a long answer, but well, mostly it has to do with the guest experience. So when you're a busboy at Disney, like I've worked busing jobs at restaurants outside of Disney, and you've got to be invisible at those restaurants. Completely invisible. The less you're seen, the better. And so that was a very big difference from Disney. At Disney, you must be very visible. You must be able to do your job without distracting people, but you must be visible enough that when people need something, you're right there to help them. So one of the things about being a busser at Disney parks is that it's all about the guest experience. You've got to be on the lookout for people who need directions. You've got to be on the lookout for people who have a question or need something. Normally at another restaurant, if your customer needs something, you tell the server. You tell the server, hey, your customer is going to need something. They need, water or something. And then the server will tell you, okay, can you get that for me, or I'll do it myself, that kind of thing. But at Disney, it's very different. The bussers, they must help. They must do all that stuff. They must interact with the guests. So they have to be trained a certain way. When you clean up stuff, I've seen other places where if the bussers are taking out trash, like, at another theme park, if they're taking out trash, they just hurl the garbage into the dumpster. At Disney, you got to be very careful with it because there could be people around you and you don't want to splash trash juice on them. So it's everything about the way you move and you act is very different. But when I was talking about the difference between DCA and Disneyland, is that at DCA, they had a very small staff. They weren't used to seeing a lot of customers because of the fact that that at Disneyland it was always busy, but DCA back then was not a successful theme park. So it was very empty all the time. They weren't used to running around and cleaning up tables. And when I say running around, I mean the Disney way. I mean, you do the Disney walk, which is a fast casual walk that doesn't make it look like you're rushing, but you got to be quick. And so they weren't used to literally just zooming around, getting all the tables cleaned as fast as possible. They were used to a very slow, leisurely, like, oh, someone left their tray over there, I'll come back in 5 minutes and get it. It's not like that at Disneyland. At Disneyland, if someone leaves a tray on a table, that table needs to be occupied by somebody else. So you got to go clean up that tray, clean it up, and get it ready for the next person. So they were just used to doing everything at like a glacial level because they were just not used to a busy park. So when we were there, people were just like overwhelmed. They were like, the cast members were like overwhelmed. They were like, we don't know how to do this. And like, relax. It's basically what you're doing, but you just do it faster. And, I would show them ways to if they, when they had a non-busy park, if they needed to pick up, like, let's say there was a plate here and then there was a tray over there, they would just kind of like take the plate and they'd walk it backstage and put it where it needs to be. Then they'd come back out and pick up the tray. They weren't used to the idea that you go grab the tray, you put the plate on the tray. They weren't used to like walking around with trays and plates and collecting and then going to the kitchen. So it was just a slight difference, little things that they weren't used to, that you had to kind of teach them, like, this is how you carry everything and this is what you do. And if you need to take out trash, like, one of the hardest things is at Disneyland, when you are the one asked to take out the trash, you still have to collect trays and plates. So what we would do is is, well, we used to have a rule. Never, we would carry around like little dumpsters, rolling dumpsters with us to haul the trash. It would hold maybe 3 or 4 bags of trash. That's it. And we were told never let your little dumpster overflow. We don't want people to see the bags of trash heaping out of the cans. So what we would do is we would only put 3 or 4 bags of trash in there, and then we would keep the lid of the little dumpster closed, and then we'd pile a couple of trays and plates on the lid, so that way we weren't leaving the area without collecting trays and plates. So that was one of the little things that at DCA they weren't used to. So I was seeing this one guy, he was in charge of taking out trash, and he was piling his dumpster full of trash and like mountain high, and he was going to roll it through the area. And I said, you can't do that. I said, I'll wait here, go get another one. He goes, but I can roll this back there. I'm like, that's not the Disney way. We don't roll a heaping, dumpster full of garbage like that. We don't want people to see all these bags of garbage, So it was little things like that made it different. So, they weren't used to working that way. And then, yeah. So, it was quite an experience, and then of course the other duty that bussers have to do, and this is what they weren't used to at DCA, was if the lines for the restaurants were getting really long, it was your job as the busboy to organize the line. Tell everybody, okay, I need you to go up against this wall, and you folks come over here, we're going to make a zigzag, you would have to tell them to do that. They weren't used to that at DCA because their restaurants never had long lines. Never, ever, 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 ever. So there were lines coming out the doors of the restaurants, and and management told me, they're like, okay, we need you to get the bussers to organize this. And so I'm like, okay. And everybody looked at me and they're like, what do you mean organize it? How do you organize chaos? I'm like, let me show you. So we went around and we're organizing the lines. We're telling them, okay, zigzag this way, zigzag that way, and we're telling people. And when you do that, you create kind of like a chain reaction, because no matter how many people come and wait at the end of the line, they see the organization ahead of them and they follow it. So you can tell someone like, okay, this is where the line bends, and do this, and then everyone after them, no matter if they never even saw you organize the line, they'll see the line shape and they'll keep to it. So it's pretty cool that how human nature works. But yes, so there were things like that they just weren't used to. And so, and the bussers there weren't used to interacting with the guests because, again, the park was so dead all the time. There was no need to interact with the guests, except for telling them where the bathrooms were. So a lot of them were antisocial, believe it or not. A lot of the busboys at DCA were antisocial because they just weren't used to like having conversations with guests and trying to solve problems. But at Disneyland, you have to be very, very, very social when you're out on stage with the guests. So, I was there telling them, okay, you're a bit too glum when you're talking to people. Try to like be a little bit more excited, a bit more happy, that kind of thing. And so we were just kind of coaching everybody on little itty bitty things to change. So, yeah, it was just little things here and there. Maritime Review says, I recognize a lot of music playing in the background, especially Henry Hall's music goes round and around. Yep, I love Henry Hall. But this music, you can find a link to the video that is playing this music in the description of my video here. My friend Shiloh from HenryHallFan, he put together 2 different videos that are designed to make you relax and feel like you're on the Queen Mary listening to a radio. So really great videos. If you're cooking or something and you want to play music, I suggest you go to his channel, click the link, watch the videos, have them playing as you're cooking dinner or something. It's really relaxing. Joe says, thoughts on the original Poseidon Adventure. I loved that movie. I saw it for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was so cool. So, yeah, that was a really great movie. So, Stefan, I guess it all began with Titanic. In 1997, I saw Titanic in theaters with my sister and my grandfather. We went to a family theater, so they had cut out the part, you know, between Leo and Kate. But I saw the movie in theaters there when the movie came out. And I loved Titanic ever since. I'm not a huge fan, just, you know, like a kind of a off to the side, kind of like, you know, peripheral, I love Titanic kind of thing. In 2012, for the 100th anniversary of the maiden voyage of Titanic, I put together my Titanic model. You guys have probably seen it in some of my videos. It's highly inaccurate today because of the way I painted it, because I didn't know back then what the colors of Titanic really were down to a T. So, but yeah, so I made the model, and that got me even more interested in Titanic. So from there, I became a Titanic fan, but I was only a Titanic fan. In 2020, my channel was only doing Disney content for, you know, the past 4 years at that point. So it was only Disney content, and my friends wanted to hang out somewhere, and my friend Chris was like, hey, why don't we go to the Queen Mary? Because he was a big fan of the Queen Mary. And I was like, well, Queen Mary is interesting. I'm like, but, you know, I couldn't film anything there. And he goes, well, just, you know, he's like, just film a vlog or something. And he's like, I'm sure people will like it. You know, the Queen Mary was once leased by Disney. I thought, okay, well, there's a nice connection. You know, I do Disney content. I'll tell the story of when Disney leased the Queen Mary. And it was just going to be a vlog where I kind of film my experience and be like, oh, this is what I'm eating. This is what I'm doing. So the night before, I did a quick Google search on the Queen Mary, and I was learning more about the ship, and I was just like, wow, this is really interesting. And I thought this will be really fun to go to the ship tomorrow. And so the next day we went to the Queen Mary, and I had been there a few times in my life, mostly with my father. Like, we would go on occasion. But to me, the Queen Mary is just some ship. Back then, I didn't appreciate it. I was a kid. I didn't appreciate the Queen Mary. But when we went this last time, something clicked. As soon as I got on the ship, the ship looked sad. It looked like it was once a beautiful, happy ship, but it needed help. And so it was, I often tell people, like, it was almost like the ship was calling out for me to help it. And I don't really know how to help. Like, how do I help? I'm nobody, you know, like. So I thought, well, the only thing I can do is I can make videos. And through my videos, I can teach more people about the Queen Mary and get, you know, for that, get more public awareness out. Because most people I know, you know, when they hear Queen Mary, they think, oh, it's like Titanic, right? You know, like, they don't know anything about the Queen Mary. And the ship had such an amazing history. So I was like, well, through my channel, I will teach people about Queen Mary in an effort to get more attention to the ship, and maybe somebody who has the ability to help the ship will. That was the goal. I knew that the subject of the Queen Mary would not get me very many subscribers. It still doesn't ultimately. Like, if I had switched to entirely Titanic content, I would have way more subscribers by now. So when people try to insult me and say that I only make Queen Mary videos for the clicks, I'm like, no, Queen Mary videos do not get me the clicks. Titanic videos would, and I don't even cover Titanic. So, yeah, but that's what got me into Queen Mary. And then from Queen Mary, I started learning about more ocean liners. I learned about Queen Elizabeth. I learned about, you know, more White Star Line ships. And ever since then, I've been really into a lot of ocean liners. That's how it all started. Sea quad. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. See you later, Carl. Scott says, I think you should take a cruise on the Nile. The Nile? I don't know. Ken, yeah, I'll check out that place. Aaron says, Alex, besides Christmas, what holidays did you like working on? At Disney? Thanksgiving. Yeah. Back in the old days, I don't think they do this anymore, but when I was working there, I loved working Thanksgiving. None of my coworkers did because they all wanted to be home having a feast. But I worked at the Frontierland area. I was at the Riverbell Terrace restaurant, and the thing about Riverbell Terrace is every year they served Thanksgiving food on Thanksgiving. So it was a complete change of menu from what they normally did. And the Thanksgiving food there was decent. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't amazing. It was just decent. And so what I loved about it, though, was on Thanksgiving, the management allowed all of us who worked at that location to have free Thanksgiving food. And then our cafeterias offered free Thanksgiving food. So what was cool was for my break, they only allowed everybody one free Thanksgiving meal at our restaurant. So for break, I would go there and check in for my Thanksgiving meal. So they would prep it. It's all the same stuff they served to the guests, but they just put aside a separate plate for us. So I got my Thanksgiving meal for break. And then on my lunch break, I would go to the cafeteria, which was outside the park, and they served Thanksgiving food there, a free little Thanksgiving meal for the cast members. And so I did that. And so I would get 2 Thanksgiving meals during my shift. And then I would go home and have, either like a Thanksgiving, dinner or lunch or whatever it was. I think I often got the early shifts on Thanksgiving, actually, ironically. Thanksgiving was really fun. And back then, Disneyland wasn't busy on Thanksgiving. It was moderately busy because their guests actually did want to visit the park on Thanksgiving. So the park wasn't crazy busy, which was nice. So I love Thanksgiving. The autumn air, all the trees are turning orange and red, you'd have your Thanksgiving meal, and there was a little bit of Christmas in the air because the park would already be decorated for Christmas by the end of October. So there was Christmas decorations up. There was a special feeling. It was really nice. It was really, really nice. So even though I loved working Christmas, I actually loved working Thanksgiving a lot more. It was such an easy shift. Oh. So, right to, oh, I can't say that username. I don't know how to pronounce it. Hi, Alex. There is a ship in the UK called MV Regal Lady that served as a tender to Queen Mary and Elizabeth during World War II. Can you please research this because information on it seems scarce? Sure. Let me type that down. Let's see. MV Regal Lady. Alright, so I typed it down so I have it in my notes, but just be aware that it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have a video out about that anytime soon. I already have a whole year's worth of videos lined up to put out, so it would probably be a very long time before I got to a ship like that. But I will look it up. Awesome, Mike. What kind of model are you building? The Maritime Review says, if you could make a movie, what would it be about? It would be about the Queen Mary's years as an ocean liner. Maritime Review says, is it alright if I send you some pictures of RMS Mauretania? Yes, please do. Conrad says, on one of your scrolling pictures is of a room with a white barrel ceiling. Which room is that? White barrel ceiling. I'll keep an eye out on the picture. White Barrel? Barrel? Like, what do you mean by barrel? I'll keep an eye out on my pictures for that. But I don't recall putting in a picture of a barrel ceiling. Can you describe anything else in the picture? Anything at all? Let's see. Mr. Misty says, Queen Mary was my first liner after Titanic, probably because it was the only other model kit available at the time. Yeah, I wish I had a model kit of the Queen Mary that was accurate, but I can't find one, so I'm probably just gonna purchase some 3D printed model that somebody has. I think I saw a picture that might describe what... Okay, arched picture with skylights. I think I just saw that too. That is the main lounge aboard either Lusitania or Mauretania. I don't remember which one, but it's the main lounge aboard Lusitania or Mauretania. Shibert says, can you please tell me where you got your tea set? So all of it is from eBay. I did not get it all at once because it would have been very, very expensive to do so. But I did get it all from eBay. I collected each piece one by one over the course of several months. But yeah, I get everything antique I get all from eBay. Always. That's the only other place I know. So, because a lot of people have asked me, they're like, oh, where do you get all this stuff? And eBay. eBay, just look it up, you know. I never ever buy stuff that is on bid because I think bid is a waste of money. So I always wait for stuff that is put for buy it now. And that's when I will spend the money on it. Sometimes I'll try to negotiate with people to lower the price because sometimes the prices are a bit much for what this stuff is. But yeah, I get it all on eBay. When you get it, eBay. Hello, Jeffrey. Awesome, Tyler. Nice list of ships there. Shibert says, where did you work at Disneyland? Several places. So, my first 2 years there, starting in 2009, I was a busboy for the riverfront restaurants of Disneyland. So I started off at Golden Horseshoe, Stage Shore Cafe, Riverbell Terrace, and Bengal Barbecue. And from there, as I got tenure, I moved away from that location to expand. So back then, what you could do is you could work at another location that is not normally yours, like let's say Hungry Bear in Critter Country. And as long as you worked there a full shift, you could ask the manager there back then to sign off on your experience, so that way you could actually get shifts there if someone calls out. That used to be a great way to pick up shifts when there wasn't enough, because I was part-time, so they didn't always have enough shifts for you. So the more restaurants you expanded your knowledge to, the more chances you could pick up a shift. And that's how I was able to get so many. So I actually went from restaurant to restaurant across the entire park, eventually picking up shifts, getting signed off on my knowledge, and then they would call me up every day. They'd be like, you want to pick up a shift? You want to pick up a shift? So, perfect. So I have worked pretty much every single quick service restaurant in entirety of Disneyland. Then in 2011, after a lot of people suggested I go into guest relations, I started applying for guest relations. Applying for guest relations was a long process. It was difficult. Guest relations was, probably still is, the most coveted job position in the park in terms of being a low-level cast member, because you know, there's a perspective that being a guest relations tour guide, guest relations host is fun, and it is to a certain extent, but it is still work, and I think a lot of people forget that. So everyone's like, you should apply for it. You know so much about Disneyland, you could really be a good tour guide. So I thought, all right, I'll try it. So I applied for guest relations, and I had to go to several interviews because it was a very tedious process. Back then, they were very particular about who comes into guest relations. So I applied for that, went through the whole process, a couple months long, had to get sign-offs from my management teams and everything to allow me to do that. And finally, I became a guest relations cast member, starting off doing plain and simple tasks like lost and found items, information booths, things like that. And then I eventually got signed off on my tours, and then I became a private host towards the end of my time in guest relations. I suffer from schizophrenia, so during my time in guest relations, it became harder and harder for me to give tours because I started forgetting a lot of the tour information. And also I was having a lot of emotional breakdowns in guest relations. So I asked to step down from guest relations and go back into busing. And so they granted me that. It was a very teary goodbye at the time. And I went back into busing a couple years after I started guest relations, 2 years, I want to say, after I started guest relations. Went back into busing. Although in my time in guest relations, I was temporarily brought to DCA, which was what the story I was telling earlier, because I had a friend who used to be my lead back at Disneyland. He became manager in DCA, and he said, "Look, we're reopening DCA. We need experienced cast members." He goes, "I know you. I know that you want to pick up extra shifts. So would you want to come back temporarily to train bussers at DCA?" And I thought, I'm not getting very many shifts right now, so yeah, I'll do it. And I did. And so it was really funny. I worked in guest relations at the time, but then I stepped back into my old role as a busboy. I think that's what got me the idea of going back into busing, was because I actually loved it. It's easy. It's not a job that requires a lot of thinking, you're cleaning. That's all you really do. So I was like, that's a perfect job. So I went back to it. I went back to busing. I worked in DCA and worked most of the restaurants in Disney California Adventure. Then I put myself through culinary school, believe it or not. I managed to do that. My job at Disney, I put myself through culinary school. And then I temporarily left Disney altogether because I actually really hated working at DCA a lot. For a couple months, I spent working, I want to say 8 months, I worked at a restaurant in Costa Mesa, California. It was a fine dining restaurant. It no longer exists, but it was a nice restaurant. I learned so much about not just how to work in an official fine dining restaurant, but also how to cook. The chef there was really nice to me. We got along. He would teach me things because he knew I was going to culinary school. So, and during my time in culinary school, I decided I want to be a baker, so I was learning how to do breads and stuff. I went to work for the Bodine Sourdough Company out in Irvine, California. Did that for about 3 months, and then I got carpal tunnel in both arms from working bread dough. So, when you have to work and knead bread dough, it gets to be a lot for your arms. And I moved up in Bodine because you start off being the person who mixes dough and puts it into a dough divider machine. The dough divider machine will divide the dough into the portions, and then it goes into a roller that rolls the dough and all that. So a lot of it was automated, but I was the only one who worked there who had been through culinary school besides my manager, the head baker, and she promoted me to being specialty breads baker because that takes more skill, a lot more skill. So the specialty breads baker does a lot more work, and it's all hands-on, and I wanted to do that. That was cool. So I was the specialty breads baker at Bodine, and that's what got me the really bad carpal tunnel syndrome in both arms. And I couldn't work anymore because I I literally, at the time, it was so bad, I couldn't close my hands. I had no control over the movements of my fingers. So, so I ended up having to quit that job, and I went back to Disney for the second time, and I got hired in as a cook at the Blue Bayou restaurant at Disney because I had culinary experience and all that, and they require that for working as a cook at Blue Bayou. So I worked at Blue Bayou for my last 2 years at Disney, and in my time at Blue Bayou, which to an extent I did enjoy, I also managed to pick up, I think 1 or 2 shifts at Club 33, actually, believe it or not, because there was one time I remember in particular, a couple of their cooks at Club 33 happened to call out on the same day. They couldn't come in, and Club 33 was supposed to be busy that day. So they came downstairs to Blue Bayou. They said, do you have any cooks who have culinary school experience, who have experience cooking, and are good cooks? We need somebody to take over. And so the chef of Blue Bayou said, oh, well, Alex has been to culinary school. He has good skills at cooking. And so they're like, all right, come up. And so they brought me up, and I was the fish and sauté cook for Club 33 for the day. And that was difficult because I had never done that menu before. So the chef had to basically tell me, like, well, he didn't have to tell me how to cook everything. He was just kind of like, okay, this dish gets sautéed this way, and it gets plated this way. And from there, I just knew how to do everything. So I just did it that way, and they liked me, and I was like, that's cool. Maybe I'll try to transfer here, but it was, the positions were all filled. There was no way to transfer there. Plus, when you can't just transfer, you have to be hired into Club 33 by the chef. So I would have had to put in a whole process, and it wasn't worth it. So, basically 2 years, almost 2 years as a busboy, almost 2 years as a tour guide. I spent several months as another busboy, left Disney for a quick while, worked at 2 different jobs, came back, and was a cook for my last 2 years at Disney, at Blue Bayou. So lots of different jobs at Disney. I know the park like the back of my hand. Well, at least I used to until they changed it up on me. That was a really long explanation. I'm so sorry. I get so like off track sometimes. Crittenden, yeah, send me that too, the pictures of Queen Mary on the gantry. Lorelei, they don't have an official date on when Queen Mary will reopen, but they're thinking just before Halloween, because they want to try to get that Halloween crowd. Sequad says, what's your favorite deck on the Queen Mary? Promenade, because all the beautiful spaces are on that level. Oh, awesome. Mike, you're putting together the Star Trek kit. Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I've heard of Luxury Liner Row. I can't afford any of those antiques, though. Raiden says, what's your opinion on RMS Titanic 2? I don't have any. Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is I thought it was a very disrespectful project, but yeah, that's about it. Linda says, "Hi Alex, haven't been here in a while. How are you? I enjoyed your long story of your time at Disney. Thanks." You're welcome. Jeffrey says, "Any updates on the lifeboats?" Yes. Unfortunately, they were scrapped yesterday. They cut them up right there in the parking lot, right outside the Queen Mary, and threw them in a dump truck that will take them to a processing place. But they were cut up and destroyed. There are only 2 lifeboats remaining. Lifeboat number 1 and lifeboat number... Wait. Which side is the... Is it lifeboat 2 and lifeboat 3? Or is it lifeboat 1 and lifeboat 4? I want to say lifeboat 1 and lifeboat 4 are still on the ship. One of them is what's called a accident boat, so it's a shorter 30-foot long boat. The other one is longer. It's a 35-foot boat, and it's meant more for just, the main job of ferrying passengers off the ship. So those 2 lifeboats are still on the ship, so we at QMI are now going to focus our efforts on trying to convince the city to let us fund the restoration of those last 2 lifeboats. The city kept those 2 lifeboats specifically so they could be preserved on the ship and displayed. So at least people could see an example of one of each type. So that's the lifeboats now we're going to focus on trying to fund the restoration of, if the city will let us. Geez, Cunard, you're recovering from surgery on those. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some people suggested I get surgery for my carpal tunnel release, and I'm like, I'm so afraid of getting surgeries. I don't want to be cut up. Alright, Crittenden, have a good night. Jeffrey says, wow, that's a shame. Just goes to show the people running the ship don't appreciate the history. Yeah. Yeah. Element says, what is the least vulnerable area of Queen Mary? What do you mean by vulnerable? That could mean so many different things. See you later, Mike. Maritime Review says, hey Alex, would you mind if I sent you another email of some Great Lake passenger ships? I think you'll find them quite interesting. Basically, ocean liners of the Great Lakes. Oh yeah, I know. One of them is that I love is SS Keewatin. So yeah, if you've got pictures of other Great Lakes passenger ships, let me see them. I'd love to see them. Well, you see, Sequad, the reason why the Queen Mary's pool is empty is actually because of its damage. The pool is not designed like a pool we have today, where there's a special type of concrete that lines it, and the concrete is coated in a waterproof paint. Excuse me, hiccups and burps all everywhere. Okay, so the swimming pool is basically a steel tank that they lined it with really thick glazed brick. The glazed brick is supposed to be waterproof. And then in between the glazed brick is a very thin layer of a type of mortar that holds it together. But what has happened is you see that the swimming pool is really only built for 30 years of use, and the swimming pool was filled with salt water for that 30 years. They didn't use chlorine back then. It was actually much easier just to have a saltwater swimming pool, which is a normal thing. We just don't see them very often. But it was a saltwater swimming pool, and what happened though was they must have put like a protective layer of epoxy or something that covered the mortar to make it waterproof. But whatever happened was over the years that waterproof layer kind of came off, which is normal for a ship because it's old, you know. But they kept the pool filled with chlorine water after it came to Long Beach because it was part of a display. So for like 10 years or so, it was filled with chlorine water. And all that water, that salt water over the years, and then the chlorine water later, it all soaked into the mortar of the pool. And what happened was it was starting to rot the steel of the pool, the steel tank of the pool. And the pool is built in 2 layers. There's a tank that holds the water, and then there's a cofferdam, which is just a big giant box that is like a backup. If the pool were to leak, it's a backup. But the tank was starting to rot. And so because of that, Disney was told to empty the pool. Disney was the leaseholder at the time. So they emptied the pool. And but what was happening was so after years of the water soaking into the mortar and rotting out the tank, what ended up happening was that water started slowly seeping out of the pool mortar and the bricks, and crystals of salt were building up and breaking everything apart. So the crystals were expanding as the mortar dried out, was breaking apart all of the glazed tile and ripping it away from the steel plating of the tank. And because all the bricks are connected to the tile work of the walls and everything, it was starting to pull the tile work off the walls. And it's a very crazy process. I'll have a whole video about that kind of explains it. No, there's no structural issues wrong with the room. Nobody should fear that the room will collapse. That's not how it's designed, and that's not how it's rotting. It's rotting a different way. All the beautiful parts of the room, like the tile work, is getting ruined because of the damage that was done to the pool tank. It's all connected to each other, so it's all being ripped off the walls. And so what needs to be done to fix that is to completely remove all the bricks from the pool tank, try to refurbish them if it's possible. Meanwhile, build a new pool tank, put all the bricks back in the same order they were taken out, and then that should fix the problem. Of course, they'd have to repair the damages that have been done outside the pool, which is the walls and everything. The tile work has been damaged on that. That would all have to be fixed as well. It's a very costly issue. But, you know, that's what would have to happen. Right to... I can't pronounce that name still. For the UK trip, we're actually going to be going during the cheapest time of year to cross the ocean. So it's either going to be October or December, which is the stormy seasons. So it might be cold and wet and wintry there in the UK, but that's something we're going to have to deal with because, again, we have to do this cheap. We can't afford to go during the busiest times of year. MFL says, thank you for keeping me entertained with your knowledge of Disney parks and great music. Been following you since 2018. Keep up the great work you do. Thank you so much. I actually remember you, MFL. I haven't seen you on here in a long time. I haven't seen you comment. Thomas says, I think it would be cool if they build a copy of the second-class swimming pool next to the ship for a nice swim. Honestly, Thomas, I think it would be cool if they rebuilt the second-class pool right where it used to be. because the elevator shaft is still there where the passengers used to access the pool. So the elevator shaft is still there. They could still use the elevators, build a brand new lobby for that area where the lobby used to be, and they could use that if they rebuilt the second class pool. It could be done up to modern standards, so that way hotel guests could use it. That way they wouldn't have to leave the ship to get to the pool. Because sometimes, even if it's like stormy weather outside, it would probably be nice for the hotel guests to still be able to use the pool without getting, struck by lightning or have the dust from the Santa Ana winds hit their eyes. Right? Yeah, I know I want plenty of light for filming, but honestly, we can't afford to go during the busy times of year. We just simply can't. We have to make do with what we have. So we're going to have to go during the stormy seasons of the year. So, yeah. But I'm used to filming in those conditions. Honestly, I really am. I'm used to filming in those conditions. If you have your cameras on the right setting and you have the right cameras, you can get the footage you need. Raiden says, why do you think the large rooms on RMS Queen Mary were closed off? Oh, I know. Everybody knows. It's because they use them for banquets. So the banquets are something that you reserve for large parties and things. So those rooms are kept empty and closed off because they're always on reserve for banquets. Not that they're always being reserved. It's just that they don't want to have the room full of things and people if they need to clear it out all of a sudden to make way for a banquet. So they keep the rooms pretty much empty, which is the improper use of those rooms. Those rooms should not be used for banquets. They should be used for their intended purposes. That's what will make them money. People come to the Queen Mary to see those big, beautiful rooms. When they get there, they don't get to see them. That's unfortunate. The only time you can see them is if you get a tour with the ship. But even then, that's not good because not everybody wants to pay extra money for a tour. Not after spending $18 on parking and not after spending $40 on admission. You don't want to spend an extra, $15 on a tour. So those rooms should be kept open for people. The tours should be designed to give you information if you want it, but you should still be allowed to enter the rooms if you want to see them. So, yeah. C Quad says, for the Ghosts and Legends tour, how did they get fog into the pool? They have these, I don't know what the devices are called. They're like strips that produce mist when water is forced into them. So they installed these strips into the pool by drilling them into the pool. And they're huge grids. And so what would happen is they would force water through them, and they would emit a giant mist, like a big cloud of mist. So that's how they made the pool foggy for the Ghosts and Legends tour. That created more issues because that re-soaked. Remember how I said that the mortar between the bricks was soaked and it was drying out and it was causing more damage? Well, then they re-soaked it with water because of the mist. That led to more salt crystal expansion as it dried out. They have since removed the mist grid that they had drilled into the pool, but the damage is still done. Oh, MFL. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Awesome, Maritime Review. I look forward to seeing those pictures. Jeffrey says, thanks again for the list of places in London to visit. I'm looking into them now. Definitely want to see HMS Belfast. Oh, yeah. My friend has been recommending that one to me. Yeah, I agree, Tyler. The lounge, the smoking room, and dining saloon should be used for their purposes. Yeah. What they could do is they could refurbish the second-class dining room, the third-class dining room, turn those into banquet spaces. Because banquet spaces are necessary, but the ship has like 10 banquet spaces, and they're never all booked up. You don't need that many banquet spaces. You know, bring it down a bit, you know? So, yeah, I'd like to see them bring back some of the old rooms to their old glory, so that way they could be used for their intended purposes, you know? Yeah, that's true, Tom. He wouldn't even notice the expense. Element, technically no. Queen Mary is not the last pre-war ocean liner. I think that would go to Hikawa Maru. But Queen Mary is the last transatlantic pre-war ocean liner. That's for sure. Petros King. So to get across the Atlantic, just as Robert said, it's 1 day in New York, 5 days to cross, and then a day in Southampton. They say it's 7 days, but sometimes they say it's 8 days. So it depends on the weather. If they know the weather's gonna be bad, it'll be an 8-day crossing. But yeah, generally 5 to 6 days is how long it takes to cross. Yeah. So, what was your other question? Yeah, we'll be sailing from New York to Southampton. So that's the only transatlantic crossing they do is New York to Southampton and back. So we'll be going. So I'll have to take a plane from Portland to New York. We'll stay in New York a night. The next day we'll get on the ship. The ship will leave later that night. We'll, spend our 7 to 8 days at sea, essentially, or on the way at least is what it is. Get to Southampton, and we'll have 12 days. From the point we get to Southampton, we'll have 12 days to do everything we need to do before we have to catch the ship going back. Because generally the ship, once it gets to Southampton, it turns back around and goes back the other way. Well, that would only give us a couple hours in the UK. That's not nearly enough to do anything. So we can't take that immediate trip back. We're actually going to catch it the next time it comes to Southampton. So that's 12 days later. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I need the money to do it. At this point in time, the amount of money I earn from YouTube would make it so I wouldn't be able to do this for 10 years. That's how long it would take me to save up. So if anybody wants to see me film all this everything in the UK trip and you want to contribute to that, there is a way to contribute. I have a GoFundMe link in the description of this video. You can go down there. You can learn about the project. I have everything listed out. All the costs, all the expenses are in there. And you can contribute to the GoFundMe page if you want to see this stuff happen faster. I estimate that after the whole trip is done, it'll contribute to at least 50 new videos for the channel, plus extra for whenever I reuse footage for future videos. So there's that. I also have a video that also explains all this. So in the description of this video is the link to another video that explains the whole trip. So please, if you want to support the channel, that's one way you can do it, is to add to my GoFundMe. And then, of course, there's also the other usual ways you can support Patreon. I have a Patreon, and then I have YouTube memberships, so you can actually pay to be a member of the channel here and get perks in return. Or you can donate to the live chat that's happening right now. I already have 3 donations, I think, so far today. So, yeah, all that stuff will help me to save for that trip and try to go as soon as possible. That'd be really cool. If I could go this year, that would be wonderful. I could make so much new content, everything. I would film everything, everything in 4K high definition. So we would be going across the ocean. I would film every deck of the ship I could of the Queen Mary 2 for a tour, for a review, for a, you know, vlog. Then we would go to the UK, film all the historic places. All of it would be done in 4K B-roll footage. So yeah, lots of plans. That's a pretty cool fun fact, Robert. I didn't know that. But, I mean, I guess it makes sense. They would have to run it through a simulation. Sequad, for your question about the light shining, I don't know which light you're talking about because there were several lights in there, but ultimately they put the lights out of view. So they're usually in a very big open space, but they're just out of view of where you're standing. So it's just the same way how you're watching me do this live stream, but you don't even realize that right here is a lamp and it's lighting up this whole thing. So so it's the same way. They put the lights out of view so you can't see them. You don't know where the light is coming from. Let's see. Maritime Review. That'd be interesting to know, is what it was like to be a bellboy. There was a man full of stories. His name is not coming to my mind right now. Ralph Rushton. Ralph Rushton, he started off as a bellboy on the Queen Mary in the late 1940s. Late 1940s. And he has recorded many stories of his times aboard the Queen Mary. He stayed for more than 10 years on the Queen Mary, like more than 10 years, because he was there all the way till the early 60s. And he wasn't he moved up from busboy to restaurant server, and briefly he worked as an elevator operator on the ship. They did have elevator operators on the Queen Mary. Back then, fancy places had elevator operators. So they would stand in the elevator, they'd ask you, what level are you going? They'd press the button for you. It was a button, push button thing. It wasn't like a handle like old it wasn't like a handle like old elevators were. They were push button, but the elevator operator pushed the button for you. So they call them lift operators. So yeah, that's what he did. But yeah, he told stories of being a bellboy, and yeah, pretty cool. I'd like to put those into a video sometime. Make that into a video. Sequad. I don't know about the orb. To be honest, I saw that tour when so long ago. I was still a kid, so I don't really remember it. It was so long ago, so I couldn't tell you. All I could tell you is it's usually these things are very simple. I used to volunteer as a special effects creator for haunt tours. We would design haunt mazes and stuff, and we would do like special effects. I was the special effects person, so I can tell you most of the time special effects are a lot simpler than you think they are. Oftentimes, if you need a light source to move, it's just a simple mechanism that moves a light source, you know. So it's usually not very complicated. It's usually something very simple that you would never think, you know. I had a friend that used to try to predict like how they did stuff, and he always overthought it. Always. He'd be like, oh, they have this giant mechanism for doing this, this, and that. I'm like, nope, it's simple. It's like a basketball with like mirrors tied to it. You know, something really simple, you know, like so, but yeah, that's usually how special effects work. They're usually something very, very simple that makes a profound effect. Mr. Misty, so yes, SS Great Britain predates both world wars. However, SS Great Britain is not the last transatlantic. Queen Mary technically would be the last transatlantic ocean liner from before the war. So SS Great Britain would be before Queen Mary on that list. Hi, Kira. M. Brocky, yes, I did like your video. I left you a comment and I emailed you back. Conrad says, would it be twice as cool if you could wait for the Queen Mary 2's second return trip 24 days after you arrive, or is that too much? So, Conrad, we would love to. If we had the money, we would wait 24 days. We really would. We would do more stuff. We would. So if we had the 24 days, we would go to more places. Like, we would probably actually go to Liverpool. We would probably go to maybe Edinburgh. And then we would spend more time in Paris, because as it stands, we'll only have like maybe 2 or 3 days in Paris, or I say maybe 3 actually, but we would like to spend more than 3 days in Paris. There's so much to see and do and film. And then there was one place in France that I really, really wanted to go, but we couldn't fit it in our itinerary. I wanted to see Mont Saint-Michel, which is a it is a castle and village that is located on top of a giant rock that is sitting out on a beach. So it's just north of Normandy, and it's a beautiful place. I would love to see that and film it and make videos about it. I wanted to do it for the longest time. It was on our itinerary. So our goal was to take a 2-hour trip down there, film the whole thing, come back up to Paris. But we couldn't fit it in our timeline, so I had to cut it out. But that was something I really, really, really wanted to do. Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted to see Mont Saint-Michel, but we had to cut it out. But if we had the money to stay there for 24 days in the UK, France time, and take a trip back, we would. We would love to do that. But at the moment, I don't know if we would have the money to do that. So we're trying to keep it as cheap as we can, and that means only staying 12 days in Europe, and the UK, and then yeah. And if I can't even make that $8,000 deadline, if I only make half of that, like 4,000, we'll still go, but it'll be a very reduced trip. Like, it'll be one trip aboard the Queen Mary 2. It'll be 8 days in the UK and France with less things to see and do, and then take a plane flight back. So, yeah, I'm still hoping for the $8,000 trip, though, because that's the full deal. That's the full month, you know, Queen Mary trip, 12 days in UK and France, and then another 8-day trip back. So we're hoping for that, you know, we're hoping for that. That's okay, Kira. I don't expect anybody to donate anything. It's just if you have something and you feel like you want to support it, then you can. But I'm not gonna stand here and be like, everybody needs to pitch in. Like, come on. Like, I'm not like that. What if I was? What if I was like, that crazy. No, but you know, it's one of those things, and I'm putting my own money into it. You know, I'm trying to save up. I don't make that much money either, so I understand what that's like. You know, but yeah, we'll see how everything goes. Christopher says, "Hi Alex, I'm a first timer here. Nice stream. What's your favorite British steam locomotive? And you planning to visit Dubai? You know, the QE2 is there." You know, I've thought about it, visiting Dubai, because my friend Chris, who's coming with me on the UK trip, he actually has family that lives in the United Arab Emirates. I maybe Dubai. I think they live in Dubai. And so I said, hey, you know, what if I go to Dubai with you, but I stay on the QE2? And he was like, hey, that'd be cool. We could hang out, you know, and you can stay on the QE2 and film that. Like, I would love to film the whole QE2. The only thing is that trip, I see that being a farther off situation than the UK trip, only because it's so far just for me to go and like. There isn't really anything else in Dubai I want to see. Everything in Dubai is very, very new, and it doesn't deal with the stuff that I do on my channel. I think I would take a moment to go see the Burj Khalifa, because that it's you know, the world's tallest building. Like, you know, you have to see it. So I would take a moment to see that, but most of the time I'd be spent on the QE2. Eating and filming and taking tours. So yeah, that would be cool, but that's far off. Right now, my priorities are when the original Queen Mary reopens towards Halloween. I'm gonna try to go down there and film the ship. I have a friend who might drive down there, and he might pick me up along the way and take me down there with him. So that would be really cool. That would save me some money. But yeah, so I plan to visit the Queen Mary when it reopens. Then the UK trip is the next priority, which is to go to the UK and, you know, film all that stuff. And then after that priority is New Orleans. I really want to go to New Orleans and film the French Quarter and film a bunch of stuff there, spend several days in New Orleans and get a bunch of history filmed so I can make videos about that. And then probably after that would be Dubai. So that's how it's kind of mapped out in my head. Chris, yeah, I understand about the... Yeah, I know what you mean. I love the Queen Mary too, and seeing the lifeboats getting destroyed just breaks my heart, but... C-Quad says, do you know where the third-class hallway is before the Ghosts and Legends tour, after the pool, on the deck plan? Ooh, that's... Oh, those words confuse me. Third class... Do you know where the third-class hallway is for the Ghosts and Legends tour, after the pool, on the deck plan? Yes, technically that's not a third-class hallway, though, because it didn't exist back then. It was part of the third-class dining room. They just built a hallway into it to make it look like it was original. But yes, I know where that hallway is. Let's see. The Maritime Review says, off topic from liners, but what's your opinion on 1930s cars? I love them. They're beautiful. I like cars from the 20s and 30s. I don't have any specifics. I'm not a car person, but there's a guy that lives at this apartment complex, and he has this beautiful car from the 1930s. And it's like a forest green, almost a beautiful forest green. And every time I pass by that car, I took a few pictures of it the first time I saw it. I know I probably shouldn't have, but it's such a beautiful car. And I don't know who owns it, but it's wonderful. Yeah, I love 1930s cars. When I see them, I just don't know anything about them. I couldn't tell you what make or models I like. I just see a lot of them, and I think they're beautiful. But C-Quad says, I know one special effect called Pepper's Ghost. Yep, that effect is used a lot at Disneyland. M. Brocky says, what Queen Mary video should I make next? I need ideas. You know, you should make a compilation, like the first maiden voyage. Like, well, there's only one maiden voyage. But the maiden voyage, and you should, like, put together, like, some video clips to make it seem like it's leaving Southampton and going to New York. And put, like, some music in there. So, that'd be cool. Mr. Misty says, I thought we were talking about the last in existence. The last in chronological existence. Thomas says, I just wish that Long Beach would just accept the help from QMI and stop being so stubborn. You know, at QMI, we offer so much. You know, we are 100% willing to help the city. We have no holdups on that at all. We're not going to demand things from the city. All we want is to give them money and help fund the projects. In order to give them money, we need to be able to get a receipt back, so that way the folks at QMI can report properly the funding is being spent to the IRS, because the IRS will check for that stuff. So they need some kind of receipt of acknowledgement. This is the expenses. This is where it's going. But that's normal. Every nonprofit that donates money gets that, and so that's what we would need from the city, and we would need the city to publicly, you know, write a letter or something, or tell people, hey, QMI is one of our benefactors for the Queen Mary. We need that in order to get more support for the ship. So those are the only two things we ask for, you know, and you know, and basically the basic two questions that we always say is, you know, like, you know, how can we help and who do we write the check to? That's really that's as simple as it is. We don't want to run the show. We don't want to get in the way. We want to give them money to help refurbish the ship and give them ideas. If they say we're having trouble finding the support for such and such, then they could ask us and we'll go out and get them the support they need. As much as what's been done, we are all at QMI, we are all willing to put the past in the past if it means helping the ship. That's all we really want. We're not here to battle with the city of Long Beach. We're here to help the Queen Mary. And the city wants to help the Queen Mary. As much as sometimes we don't like what they do, ultimately they are trying to help the ship, because they are trying to get the ship reopened. The ship does earn them money. The ship may not earn enough of its own profit, but it does generate $205 million a year in tourism revenue for the county of Los Angeles, accounting for 1/6 of their tourism visitation. The city of Long Beach knows that getting rid of the Queen Mary is actually very bad for the local economy. It would be a huge hole in the income of the economy. So they know that they have a responsibility to take care of the ship, and all we want to do is support them on that, give them the money that they need to do it. So we have no hang-ups on that. If the city were to call tomorrow and say, look, you know, we could use your help, you know, we would say, okay, great. No questions asked. We just need these specific things so we can report to the IRS, and we need a, you know, like a paper that says we are helping you. Other than that, we'll give you the money. We'll find you the funding. Whatever you need, we'll come up with a game plan. We'll get you the money. You know, that's what QMI is designed to do. It's designed to help support the funding of the Queen Mary. So we can do all that stuff, but it's hard to do that when you're not officially acknowledged by the city of Long Beach. So, you know, that's what we need. So, Maritime Review says, what if the Queen Mary was a museum in New York City instead of Long Beach? That's kind of a tough question, because while New York City is more popular than any city on the West Coast, really, the problem is that New York City is also way more expensive. The Queen Mary currently doesn't need to pay port fees because she's sitting on the land that she belongs to. So she doesn't pay port fees, so that is a way that she's saving money. But if the Queen Mary were moved to New York City, she would have to pay port fees in the amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. That's a lot. That's a lot. The Queen Mary would need to be uber successful with oodles and oodles of money to be able to afford that. So that's the other problem. So moving her to New York City is not the end-all be-all of the success plan. There would need to be a guarantee that she would be a successful attraction if she were moved there. And that is not at the moment guaranteed. So there's that. Dangerous Brian says, I presume you'll be going by Eurostar to Disneyland Paris and Paris. Eurostar. If you mean the train that goes from London to Paris, yes. And then there's another train that goes from Paris to Disneyland Paris. And we'll also take that. My friend has he has a hotel that whenever he goes to Paris, he stays at the hotel. It's just outside of the city of Paris, just outside of Paris. And it's a nice hotel that has really decent prices. So he always goes there because he gets a good deal, and it's a really, really nice hotel. So so we would be going there. So we wouldn't necessarily be staying in Paris, nor would we be staying on Disney property. We'll be staying in between both of them. So we have plans for that too. My friend has been to, the UK and to Europe and Paris many times, so he has already a lot of knowledge on where to go, what to do, how to get about. So so he would be my guide on that. M. Brocky says, is it possible if you can make a Queen Mary expansion joint video? Ooh, we can talk about it, but I can't make a whole video about it. That would be a bit much. There isn't enough information about it, but I could make a brief video that talks about what expansion joints are and how they work, and then I could show some images of Queen Mary's expansion joints in that video and talk a little bit about what's happened to those. It's possible. I could probably do that. Jason Ware says, have you approached the cruise line about giving you the trip for free? Cunard could use the younger cruise passenger exposure. So there are a few things about that, which is that the so first of all, they don't give you free stay on the ship for doing a seminar. They might give you discounted, but it wouldn't be free. But in any case, I'm going to be very busy on that voyage. I can't do a seminar on the ship because I'm going to be really busy filming and editing and doing stuff for the videos and stuff like that. So I can't do that. Plus, there really isn't much I could contribute to that. In terms of a seminar, I'd have to prepare for it weeks in advance and get it ready and practice on the ship and spend a lot of time doing that. I don't want to do that. I already have a lot of filming that I need to do on the ship. So I'm probably going to be spending every day doing that. But yeah, I don't think that they would give me much of a discount for doing a seminar. In fact, I don't even think they give discounts for doing seminars on the ship. I think you still have to pay the full price. But yeah. Make sure to book your trains well in advance because that's when they are usually the cheapest. UK trains are very expensive. Yeah, my friend will help me out with that because he's got experience traveling on those trains and stuff. Chris says, what would you like to see happen to the sub and preserve it? I don't hate it. I just wish it would be removed properly. What would I like to see happen to the sub? I'd like to see it moved to some other maritime museum. Somewhere where it's not... Like, I personally don't like where it is right now. I don't like that it's right next to the Queen Mary. It's in the way of photographs. Anybody who wants to take pictures of the Queen Mary's bow, that rotting submarine is blocking the view. not to mention, they've also built some facilities along the pier there that also block the view. I'd like to see those facilities removed as well. But yeah, the submarine, I don't know what I think about it. All I know is I just wish it wasn't there. So, yeah. The city doesn't want it there anymore either. So they're going to try to get rid of it. I don't know right now what step they're on with that, but that would cost a lot of money. So they've probably got to find the funding for that as well. They got the submarine in there by removing part of the breakwater wall and then just pushing the submarine into there. So that's how they got it in there. That's how they got the Queen Mary in there. They built part of the breakwater, pushed the Queen Mary in with tugboats, and then filled in the breakwater after her. So Element says, why did they destroy lifeboats? Oh, it's a long story. I have a lot of updates to talk about the lifeboats, so you'll see why. But ultimately the city just wanted to. Chris says, besides Disney and the Queen Mary, what are your other hobbies? I love old-time radio shows and Civil War history and tabletop games. I like trains. I like model railroading. I love reading books. I like building models of, stuff like ships and trains. I occasionally like to do some hiking and stuff. Not too much crazy stuff. I'm not that good, but I do like to do some light hiking through some, safe areas where I won't get lost. That kind of thing. I love taking road trips, but I haven't been on a road trip in almost 15 years. I visit historic places. That's one of my other hobbies. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I actually don't even have time for hobbies most of the time. I'm always doing work on this channel. Like, this channel takes up almost every hour of every day for me. So I rarely have time for hobbies anyway, so, yeah. But the model railroad will be a hobby that you'll see on this channel in the future. See you later, Mike Marin. Mr. Misty says, the solution is clear. A member of QMI must be elected mayor of Long Beach. Dangerous Brian says, what do you do as your full-time job? This is my full-time job, YouTube. So I literally wake up every day, work on videos, work the whole day on making videos and doing research. The research takes the most time because that involves reading. So I have books and everything that I reference. I put together all the information. I cross-reference all the information. From there, once I have all the information gathered, I will start writing up a script. The script will take me a couple of days to write up. I write up the script, then I narrate the script, then I edit the script, and then I start putting together the video. That involves taking a couple days to usually research images for the video because I don't like to just show generic images. Like, a lot of YouTubers use generic images of stuff. I try not to do that. I try to use as much original footage and photographs as possible. So that takes a lot of time usually to research that and come up with it. And then from there I edit the video together into a video that takes several days. And then I post that. And the whole process, sometimes it takes, 2 weeks to make a video. Sometimes it takes 2 months to make a video. My Disneyland Railroad series, those 4 videos, took a whole year to produce because I had to work off and on throughout a whole year to do the research, find the images, collect the images. I used to go to Disneyland all the time, so I would film the railroad and do all that. And then finally I put together all those videos, and altogether it took about a year to do that. So before I started making Queen Mary videos, people remember my first Queen Mary videos showed up in the year 2021. That's because I took a whole year to study the Queen Mary before I ever made a first video on it. So when people say like, oh, you should hurry up and do more Queen Mary videos, it takes me a long time. It took me a whole year to learn about the Queen Mary before I ever decided to make a video on it because I didn't want to make a video where I didn't understand the subject matter very well. So, yeah. Scanfan Ed, thank you so much for the donation. Scanfan Ed says, thank you for the great content and for sharing your vast knowledge, Alex. You are appreciated. Oh, thank you so much. Hello, Mr. Rex. Matthew, yeah, Jamie sent me his video. As soon as he published it, he sent it to me. I was very sad to see it. Conrad says, speaking of expansion joints, how many decks down do they go on Queen Mary? Off the top of my head, I believe they go 3 decks down from the sun deck. So I think it stops around A deck. I believe the expansion joint stops around A deck. Well, technically, the expansion joint also goes up a little bit, doesn't it? No. It goes in between the structures. Yeah. So, yeah, 3 decks, I think. From sun deck down to promenade. It's 1. Down main deck, that's 2. Down A deck, that's 3. Yeah. Chris says, I would love for you to do a video on the history of Knott's Berry Farm and how both Waltz were friends of each other's parks. I don't see myself doing that. I'm not a theme park fan. I just only love Disneyland, really. I don't see myself talking about Knott's Berry Farm or Walter Knott. It's just not my thing. Billy says, first time viewer to your lives, bud. I enjoyed the old Disney history videos. I would enjoy showing my 4- and 3-year-old boys some rad clips of yours. We used to go often before 2020 from the time they were born. Oh, wow. Supernova says, sign up for a class at a community college, then you can train around Europe as a student almost for free. Yeah, but I have schizophrenia. I can't do school anymore. You know, I'm also getting older now, so it's just not, it wouldn't work out very well. Yes, I've heard of Royal Yacht Britannia. I love Royal Yacht Britannia. I'd love to see it, but it's not currently on my itinerary list, because it is kind of a ways away from where we're going. Chris says, where and how could we get original dishes and cups from Queen Mary and treat them with the love they deserve? eBay. That's why I always say everything antique, I personally suggest eBay. Because people who own that stuff, some of them inherit it from family that collected it and don't know the real value of it, so they sell it for cheap sometimes. So eBay, just search eBay, keep an eye out for, you know, cheap items and stuff like that, and own it. But I do recommend anybody that wants to buy this kind of stuff from eBay, from the Queen Mary or Queen Elizabeth, please take really good care of it. I can't tell you how many of these items I bought and found that the previous owners cracked it all because they didn't do their research. They didn't learn about China and how to take care of it. So if you're gonna purchase antiques and stuff about Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth to preserve it, please do your history, your research, to learn how to properly take care of those items, because once they're gone and destroyed, they're gone and destroyed. They don't come back. So Conrad, I don't know if there are expansion joints on cruise ships. I don't think they need them. But that's a big guess on my part. M. Brocky says, what would it be like in the crow's nest on the Queen Mary in rough seas? Oh, so there was a story by Ralph Rushton. So the same guy that when I told the story about the piano and it going crashing around the main lounge, he was the same guy that told many more stories of the rough seas. And I wanted to put them all in the video, but I couldn't. The video had been too long, and you know, so. But there was a story where he actually went up to the crow's nest in rough weather, and he said that the interesting thing was you'd think that, and this is literally what he said. I'm not quoting it verbatim, but this is what he said. He says, you wouldn't believe, he says, when you go up to the crow's nest, you'd think that it would be like you're swinging from side to side on the crow's nest in the rough seas. He says, but actually it has the opposite effect. He says, it looks like the ship below you is like a pendulum swinging underneath you. He says, so it's very disorienting because, you know, you go up there expecting to be like this and that, but it actually feels more like the ship is swinging under you like a pendulum, and yet you're feeling the forces of swinging side to side. So he says that that's what makes it weird. And so that was an interesting story. I thought, whoa, like I can't even imagine, like that would feel so weird. You know, he said that's why the men in the crow's nest, if the weather was really rough, they would request not to be up there because it would make you sick, most certainly. You know, because like he said, what you're seeing is not what you're feeling, so it would be very disorienting. Let's see. Maloney, yes, I have read the book by John Maxstone Graham. And Brocky says, what do you use to record and edit your videos? I have a Rode microphone that's hooked up to my computer. I forget the name of it, but it's a Rode microphone. And then that records my audio. The software I use to record my audio is called Audacity. It's a free software. To edit my videos, I use Adobe Premiere Pro because it has all the features I need for editing videos. So I use that. Yeah, I have a few free online softwares for downloading the videos off the YouTube. So if there's a video on YouTube that I need, the drone footages, I got permission from the people who filmed the drone footages, and what I did is I pulled it off YouTube using a free software online that I do that. So there's things like that. I have a camera for filming places I go when I do videos on other places. I use a DJI Osmo Pocket 2. I also own the original Osmo Pocket, but I don't use it as much anymore. Yeah, and for these live streams, I use a webcam. C Quad says, what was the first destroyed and removed room on the Queen Mary? If you mean during the conversion, because there was rooms removed before, like years before the Queen Mary was ever sold. But if you mean during the conversion, they were all done at once. It wasn't like a step-by-step thing. It was like everything was done at once. Yeah, Maloney, I have The Only Way to Cross by John Maxstone Graham. Read the whole thing. It's pretty cool. Tyler says, wow, 3 hours of tea time. Oh my gosh, it's been 3 hours? Oh, geez, I gotta end the live stream. It's already really late. MFL, yeah, I try to respond to every comment. I do what I can. Supernova says, what do you think about go-kart tracks and water slides on cruise ships? I mean, if that's what other people want, then that's cool. It's not what I like. I wouldn't want that. That's probably why I would prefer a Cunard cruise, if anything, because I'm more boring. Like, I don't like go-karts and water slides and rides on cruise ships. Even most cruise ships don't have an aesthetic that I like. They look a bit tacky to me. So I actually really like Cunard ships because they still look very regal and very, dignified, and it's a very, it's a different experience. So if anything, if there was a cruise ship experience I would like, it would be on a Cunard ship. But even then, I don't plan to take a Cunard cruise yet. Right now, my only plan is a transatlantic crossing on their only ocean liner, Queen Mary 2. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to end the live stream here. I want to thank you all for watching. And yeah, so I got to get ready for doing more work. But anyway, thank you guys for watching me. I'll see you all on Sunday for the next Tea Time live stream. There will not be a a Queen Mary Lost Places this Saturday. We're going to have to wait till next Saturday. So anyway, thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.